I didn't mean you guys.
Right. Clearly. Are we on, Dave?
Sure.
on.
We've been on for
Oh boy.
ages.
Perfect. Is it 49?
Yeah.
This is 49.
Episode 49. Todd, you're bringing us home.
Is
This
this
is episode 49, and we have Todd Conklin joining us.
is this
by the
it?
way.
Is
So-
this the last one? Did Phil? That felt really.
Well, I don't know.
That felt really terminal.
There's always a risk it's the last one.
Todd, every time we get on here, it sure feels
coming.
like it ought to be the last one.
I'm coming
Todd's
home.
classing up the joint. I mean, most of the time we have a guest, it really kind of elevates things. This is the real deal.
Yeah, I'm going to bring you down.
Take it
Way
down.
down.
Burn it down.
First, we have to determine what tier we are. What tier are we?
I think,
Well,
Todd,
Right.
Are we third? Are we third tier or fourth tier?
I feel like I'm tier 6.
yeah,
I'm
who's
below-
we?
I'm below you.
Yeah.
No,
I doubt that.
No.
we got a
Because
real
you-
tier oneer on here with us today.
The tier ones talk about the tier threes. Just get that out there.
Yeah.
Or so I've been told.
Yeah.
The rumor.
The tiers. I'd like to know who the tiers are.
Okay, we'll clear it right up.
Yeah. That's a good podcast right there.
Yeah. Well, we started out as usual. Todd, we'll warm it up for you, and then you can tell us what you're listening to. I have no new tattoos. I think we're clear on
Really?
this.
You have no new. So this
No
doesn't
new
happen like
tattoo.
weekly or monthly or anything
I
like that.
felt like it did for a while, and then we just
It
stopped.
did. And we all just sort of kind of lost
It
momentum.
was the novelty.
I think just general sadness took over.
Yeah, the world
Resignation. I don't know. But it's not punk exactly, but it's punk adjacent. It's Ice-T, Body Count.
Oh, nice.
They're back in action a little bit lately. Super cool. I do have to point out though that NOFX re-released basically
Minnesota
Huntington
Nazis?
Beach Nazis.
Minnesota
Well, it's
Nazis.
Huntington, so it's like HB Nazis with some words changed
Yeah.
4 years later. But
Yeah.
Huntington Beach is a weird place too.
Yeah, I think it's the Minnesota Nazis is the
It's
new name of
Minnesota
the song.
Nazis. Is the new one? Yeah.
Oh, is this a recent release?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
today.
I'll look into this.
Do it.
There's a lot of stuff coming out. It's weird how well, I mean, it's weird. Well, one thing that is weird, and I'm be curious to what you guys think, is there's a lot of AI produced music that's coming out,
Oh, yeah.
sort of
Sure.
from the resistance side. That's kind of interesting.
From the
Yeah.
Okay. I just knew
Yeah.
AI music was coming out. I didn't know it was like.
Oh, well, no, there's a ton of AI music coming out all over, but there's a lot of like protest based AI music that's coming out that's really interesting.
That's
K-pop
really-
Demon Hunters, isn't it?
Well, that is, I mean, they're clearly doing something right. I never
Yeah,
imagined
something.
that would be said on the punk rock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let no one say we don't know what's going on in the
That's
world.
In the scene.
zeitgeist, as the kids say.
in the scene.
Speaking
Yeah.
of zeitgeist, Ron,
Yeah.
what do you got going on behind you, buddy?
Basically, this is the armband from Dead Kennedys. Nazi punks, fuck off.
For no particular reason, but a pretty cool background.
Yeah, if they happen to be in any Midwest areas. And I do not have any new tattoos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we knew. We're
Yeah,
getting it. Rebellions are built on hope.
they fucking are. Yes, sir. What about
David.
you, Proven? What's going on with you, man? What's new? Tell me something good. It's
Something
gotta be-
good. Well, thinking about Todd coming on the podcast, this is punk adjacent as well. I think I've had him before, the Super Jesus, good Australian band from Radelaide. But Sarah McLeod played, as Todd would remember, and Ben,
Yeah.
you wouldn't, Ron, at our safety stock event in Wollongong.
Yeah.
So I thought a
Back
nice
in the
little
gong.
flashback.
Where, yeah, fun without
Fun
Ron.
without Ron.
Great. And that was a killer show. That whole show was killer.
It was cool. And
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm coming
And good
stateside.
food trucks. It's the whole
Stateside
thing.
in 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're coming this way.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
If I
What's
get
your
let in,
plan? Where
in
are you
boys.
going? Are you going anyplace cool?
Texas. and Massachusetts.
Nice.
Say that again?
You said that like a
Oh, I
local
can't say
kind
it
of.
properly. It doesn't work with an Australian. Boston.
Rolls off the tongue.
Boston, I guess.
But Boston's what we would say, yeah.
Yeah.
Boston, Mass. We'd say Mass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You gonna get Dropkick Murphys while you're there?
that's the plan.
No, that's-
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Todd,
But no.
tell us something about,
What's going on with you, man?
what do you
I'm
got?
going to see Hayes Carl tonight.
Okay.
Nice.
What?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
I have no new tattoos, but if I were to get one, I think it would be please remain seated during the entire ride.
No.
But I think that
Where
would be,
exactly on your body would you get that tattooed?
well, I have a lot more
Yes.
real estate to play with than other people, so
Don't you threaten me with a good time.
that's what I mean. But I mean, that feels like it feels like a tramp stamp of that would be wrong.
I think the feeling is wrong. I think that's what you do.
No, that's what.
You gotta
And
do
who do I listen to? Boys, I've honed my skills over the years. To, Billy Strings is probably the one I would still bring up, even
Yeah.
this far into it. And he should actually tickle some of your fancies as well.
No, he's solid.
Yeah. There's a lot of the sort of outlaw country going on with the whole
Right.
Billy Strings. That dude, by the way, these two chuckleheads know it, but I play a little bluegrass banjo every once in a while. It's just pretty punk rock if you're in the Appalachian Mountains or something.
Well, the banjo is the instrument of love.
That's some sort of
That
love.
was Ben's high school nickname.
Right.
Instrument of love.
Instrumental banjo player. You know about banjos, Ben, don't you? You know what you call a beautiful woman on the arm of a banjo player?
I've never seen that happen.
A tattoo. You know what the
Yeah.
difference? You know what the difference is between a banjo and a trampoline?
Oh God.
Generally,
Nope.
people take their shoes off before they jump on a trampoline. And my favorite one is
Armed and ready.
I have to rethink. I can't believe I just balked on my favorite joke. What's the definition of a consummate musician? Somebody who plays the banjo very well but chooses not to.
Okay. Let's do the drummer jokes next.
Yeah.
And we'll get to
And the
Then we'll
bass
get to
player,
bass
and
player.
and we're done because once you
Yeah.
go to bass player, there's
we
still
leave
some-
Ron alone because he's actually talented.
There you
I
go.
don't know about
Talented.
that.
Left-handed, but talented.
Left-handed people are creative.
That guy's a good left-handed guitarist behind Ben.
So, what do you think about Springsteen's new song, the one that came out yesterday?
Yeah, the Streets of Minneapolis.
Yeah, Streets of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
The video came out today. I've not seen it yet because I was busy prepping for this call.
I was
Yes. Well, yeah. I mean,
At least one of us. And that's
Or
how
nap.
you know you're tier one, to be honest.
No, I don't think.
When you prep for a call?
I know
You
I'm
prep.
not tier one. I've been told I'm not tier one, so
Oh,
it is not a mystery to me.
Buy a tier one.
Uh-huh.
Oh, fucking hell.
if you have to ask, you're not tier one
Yeah,
enough.
you know.
If you're that defensive, you got something to hide. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
There you go. You're
That's a
guilty.
wild.
That's
Tom,
all
we
I'm
have a-
going to say.
We have a long history. That's not true. There's not a long history of anything. We have the history of this podcast of asking guests to just sort of come up with a topic
Gotta
because
pick
we
up the
never
slack.
do that very well. Yeah,
So I
just
have
sort of
one.
pick up where we left off.
So I have one for you
Okay.
that I'm really fixated on,
Oh boy.
and that is new ideas tend to die, not for lack of interest, but for lack of innovation.
Hmm.
I think we have an innovation issue.
Okay.
Discuss. Yeah, do I need to set it up more?
I mean, if you have more thoughts, but yeah,
Ron's ready.
and you mean specifically like New View, Hop, or just
Yeah.
safety in general?
Yeah, well, I think New View Hop, but
Yeah.
safety in general. I've never been a big delineator of what stuff's called.
Yeah.
I kind of see this motion that's happening with safety as kind of a progressive, almost a maturity model that, it's gone from where it was to where it is to wherever it's going. But I think it's suffered. I mean, we can look at the innovative things that have happened historically, which is kind of, David, what your thesis was, right? I mean, you looked at.
Don't get him going on shit that he's written.
Yeah, that is risky, but you can kind of. But I guess my question is who's innovating now? Because I think
if you're on LinkedIn, nobody.
Well, so I don't ever
everybody.
like I don't really read LinkedIn. So
It's
don't you have
probably-
better stuff to do than read LinkedIn?
100%. But what's fun is when Ron posts something really genuine and smart, and then all the assholes come out of the woodwork to tell him how stupid and horrible he is. It's sort of a sport.
Yeah, it's fun.
Ron told me probably 10 years ago not to read LinkedIn. You did, Ron. You and it's been the best advice ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a train wreck. You can't look away.
Yeah. No, I think it's a fair point though about innovation. And I struggle with why that is, right? So what is sort of stopping us from pushing the envelope farther? Well, and I guess let me take a step back actually and just ask this question to you all, like, okay, what would it look like if we were innovating? Like what, you know what I mean? Like what would that look like in practice? Because what's sort of gotten us this far has been, a number of like big time folks who come along and bring in some research or a fresh perspective, and they become these big voices, and it sort of, oh wow, that's a great perspective, let's move in that direction. I'm thinking of Dave Woods, Jim Reason, Eric Hallnagel, you, Todd. You know what I mean? Like people who have like opened a lot of people's eyes and pointed us in a direction. I wonder, like, if we were innovating now, are we waiting for the next crop of those people, or is it going to be is it going to look like something else?
Let me hybridize that question a little, not to ignore it, because I think it's an important question. So let's come back to it. Who is exciting to you now? Who are you who's interesting? Who's out there cutting a swath? Who's out there being a bit controversial or making people angry or having new ideas? Like, who are you following?
I like to follow folks who are, maybe they're not well known, they don't want to be well known, but they're not afraid to try to apply some of these things in places that haven't heard even a little bit of it. And a fellow named Dennis on LinkedIn, Ron, you and I've both talked with, right? These are the kind of folks I think they get me excited, right? That start diving into this, really aggregating all of it, trying to be, skeptics about it in the best possible way, but think about it in a place, in Dennis's case, engineering, I think fire science, fire engineering. This is not a place that these conversations have been happening. So to me, I think that's the most exciting. You go to a conference and you watch a company bring a few folks up on stage and just talk about their experience of saying, yeah, our minds were opened. We saw this thing in a different way, but man, we've had to reinterpret what this looks like. It doesn't follow the same path that other folks have. I think that's the coolest thing I see.
What about you, David?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, because I often sort of try to help organizations reflect on what they're actually doing differently in relation to health and safety. And very often in organizations, you almost won't find anything that different from the 1990s. Like we had risk assessments, inductions, management leadership visits. We had, all this sort of stuff. And to ask an organization, say, when you ask about innovation, like, what are you actually doing differently that you weren't doing 5 years ago? And you get organizations that are doing some learning teams and a few things, but they haven't gone and changed a lot of their other practices that are probably compromising the effectiveness of some of the new things that they're trying to do. And so to answer your question, Todd, I don't find that much inspiration in the safety or the business world anymore. I don't feel like things are changing. I'm sort of getting more of my inspiration from, I guess, other domains that are making high performance work in practice, like professional sports. Shout out Oklahoma City Thunder and their coach. And that, like, if you listen to last year's post game press conferences of like the Thunder coach, it's like you're listening to someone talk about what new view safety is, right? About autonomy and complexity and diversity and enabling success and building capacity in the team and resilience and redundancy and depth and focusing on what we can control and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, so I'm sort of drawing more of my inspiration from outside the business world these days.
That is exactly what I thought a tier 2 would say.
It's such a
Tier 2 promotion.
Such a
Yes.
such a
All right, baby. All right.
And
Yeah.
most tier 2s claim that they were tier 3. You know, they act really humble.
I'm going to head out now to hair and makeup. Sorry, guys.
Oh, I just learned that that's called HMU. I never knew that had a name, but it's HMU. You know,
That's some tier 1.
well, I said on the plane. I said on the plane by Governor Schwarzenegger's political number 2 guy, his body man, who's he no longer does that, but he did it during the governor, and he said he'd worked there for years, and there was always this little thing that said HMU, and he finally said, "What is that?" And they said hair and makeup. So I just learned that. But David, I really appreciate what you're saying, because I think you're exactly right. Like the most inspiration that I'm getting right now is
Ron's just got a cat.
He stole it anyway. It doesn't matter. It's stolen.
He's multi-talented.
Not even
Ron
this.
is. He's an animal whisperer.
It's a left-handed cat, which is weird.
The big man from London who's an advertising executive who got famous on a TED Talk. That guy's really good. Oh, what is his name? I'll find it for you. He's super interesting because he's just like the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's talking about developing capacity and creating space and adaptation and how humans are quite predictable within a system. And if you want different outcomes, create different systems. I think that's interesting. To me, that's where the inspiration is coming from. I'm super curious about this just because I think the thing that will stop advancement, because we're in this weird place. You guys must talk about this, but we're in this weird place where these ideas are now way more mainstream. What I mean, way more, like unimaginatively more mainstream than I ever thought they'd be.
And heavily corrupted.
Yeah, oh, totally. But we knew that was going to happen, right? So 2 things guaranteed you could set your watch to it is the ideas would become corrupted. And secondly, is there would be sects, SECTS.
I was in. I was like, I'm there.
Like, wait, you have to get up to tier 5 before you get to see
It's weird. It's weird how you guys perked up on that. How there'd be divisions and there'd be arguments over legitimacy, origin and legitimacy. Those are super predictable, super predictable.
Yeah.
And the thing that I didn't predict, but now in retrospect makes total sense, is this really high need for legitimacy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try to craft this into its own science, and we're gonna have all these, and we can sit at the same table that physics and engineering sit at, and we're gonna be fine. Those things are super predictable. In fact, I would suggest for this conversation, kind of boring. Like, of course that happened. The thing that I think is most interesting is what'll kill an idea is the lack of innovation.
Yeah.
When it stops being exciting and interesting, then it's no longer exciting and interesting, he says, making the most obvious thing you could have ever said right there. Right. And I think that's something to think about. And I think for a long time we rode quite lazily. Is that a word?
Yeah, it is now.
Yeah, I like lazy. That's a good word.
Yeah, quite lazily on the back of some pretty good early adopters. And for whatever reason, age, time, weird religious conversion, whatever you pick. I mean, you just pick it. They've kind of moved aside, and who's filling those blanks in?
I'll tell you who.
And I'm
isn't
looking at you
punk
guys.
rock safety.
And I'm looking at you. I'm looking right at you. You
He
invited
just got
me?
demoted to tier 4.
Oh,
Well, me and
no.
Ron. Dave's
You
still
know,
tier 2.
Yeah.
you don't want to be tier 4. Tier 4, you don't get
No,
you don't get lounge
I-
access anymore.
I aspire. I aspire to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Okay.
wonder if some of the fear, maybe it's, I don't know if it's fear of innovation. I think it is in organizations, or at least the way that I interpret it, is this need for feeling, or a return to wanting certainty. And I don't know if that's geopolitical. I don't know if it's just margins are tightening in a lot of different industries. I don't know if it's a difference in workforce, but I feel like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we could experiment a little more freely. We could mess around, try something in part of an organization, and people didn't lose their damn mind over it.
Yeah.
But I was working with a client the other day, and this is a massive aviation organization, right? And they said, well, who else has done this? Well, they have to know the answer to that, right? They're the biggest one in the world. No one has ever done this. And they wanted the certainty of knowing that someone else had already done it so they could guarantee that it would work.
I think,
And you go, look, you're doing all sorts of shit in your industry that's experimental. Why
but I
can we
think
not try?
safety has such headwinds for innovation. Like there's legal arguments, there's moral arguments. The point you just mentioned there, Ben, which is like, am I going to be doing something different to everyone else, and how's that going to look if something goes wrong? And I think if an organization would probably rather be conventional and defensible than innovative and feeling undefensible if something happens. Right. So,
Yeah.
I think it's even in the book about Netflix, the No Rules organization, the very last chapter of that, they say the best way to run a company is through, autonomy and principles and not through rules and process, except for health and safety and OSHA. You can't do that when it comes to safety. So you've got this paradigm that we apply to safety management, which is sort of inconsistent with the paradigm that we apply to, taking an organization forward. One about constraint rather than about kind of like creation.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I think, Ben, something you said earlier in answer to Todd, your first question, well, I guess your second question about who's like the people who are really inspiring to me are the ones who are finding a way to push through that, right? Like who are taking the ideas of those early adopters that you talked about, Todd, and they're pushing them through against this headwind and creating stuff. And in the process, I've found a lot of these people are I think doing a lot more than we even recognize. Like there's some really cool innovative stuff that is happening out there. It's just it's not connecting with everything else. I think one of the challenges we have in this day and age is there's so much fucking noise out there that the really cool stuff doesn't get to rise to the surface as much as we'd like it to. And so we don't get to talk about it, look at it, learn from it, and allow the whole like movement industry, whatever, to move forward. It's happening in pockets. It's not happening as cohesively, I think.
How much did what Ben said about global uncertainty influence what's going on? Because I actually think post-pandemic, what we're seeing is probably this really desperate swing back to normalization of whatever normalization is. I mean, I've never been very good at defining that, but that seems to be a part of it. But to take what you said, Ron, and really the same thing you were saying, David, the group that I'm most fixated on right now are pediatric hospitals in North America because they're doing incredible stuff, like, 20,000 babies don't die a year because they've taken on unplanned, I can't ever say the word, extubation, like intubation, but extubation. And they took it on and they basically used the crap we talk about all the time and just co-opted it into their problem. That's exciting. That's interesting. And that's a huge payoff for a million reasons. The challenge is who's thinking of the next stuff. I just keep coming back to that because I'm always curious who we should be paying attention to. And I mean, I don't know.
We're
I don't know
deregulating nukes now, Todd. Maybe the nuclear industry is going to start doing some cool stuff.
Hopefully, I mean, I'm supportive of it.
Yeah,
But I think
but
so.
but they. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. Keep going, Tom.
Oh, well, I mean, they sort of fell off they were in a really interesting, I would say, opinion leadership role and kind of fell off of it. Part of it is the stability trap. I mean, part of it's the same thing you're seeing in aviation safety.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is, and you guys are seeing it because you work with it, but when not a lot bad happens, then the assumption is, well, we've solved that problem.
Yeah. And
We don't need to be innovative because we've clearly been innovative enough because, 72 million people fly every day and don't die.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and so it's a really interesting, I think the problem is really an interesting problem. I think it's kind of boring as hell. I'm not sure everyone's having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's so I think there's I mean, Amalberte talked about the paradox of almost totally safe systems and
Yeah.
and what do you look at when nothing's really happening? And I guess that's a bit of a precursor to Holnagel's work on safety too, and normal work and success. But just when you mentioned there about the pediatric healthcare, the innovate. I think there's a difference between improving work and trying to improve safety. And I think that innovating in safety really isn't that interesting unless what we're doing in safety is a means of innovating around work. Because if the work doesn't change, the risk doesn't change, the chance of an incident doesn't change, right? And I think we see safety as the end as opposed to safety as the means to the end for, I guess, enabling more successful, more reliable work. And so, I think if you think about pediatric intensive care, the core purpose or the core work is don't let babies die. Right. And so that pursuit of the core work objective kind of opens up the door to how can we redesign, reorganize around the work that we do. And I think that's where safety really needs to say we're not worried about safety as much as we're worried about the work. And safety's the thing that comes after.
I don't think we missed that though, Dave.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's what among the four of us, we're talking about, right? When we talk about safety, I think we know we're talking about work, but I think,
we're tier threes.
But I wonder if I guess to Ron's point, like Ron doesn't
think the simplest shit, right? Of saying everybody has to go back into an office, right? This weird pull back toward, Todd, you said whatever normalcy is, right? Well, we knew that we all had to sit in offices before. We have all this evidence that says it's a stupid idea, but we're going to go back and do it anyway. And I think the innovation around work, even independent of a discussion of safety or risk or exposure or resilience, just innovating around how we do work has gone depressingly to shit. I see a lot of.
So I think there is a distinction, and Ron, even though Ron doesn't really think safety professionals are required anywhere,
That's true.
You obviously got that from a particular tier one who says the same thing. There's. I think if you speak to safety people and say, "What are you in the organization to do?" they're going to say, "Understand and improve safety." They're not going to be, "I'm there to understand and improve work." And I think for me, there is a distinction in there about what is our core area of focus and what are we spending time looking and puzzling over.
Yeah, for sure. In the wild, I agree. I think among us, we sort of understand that.
Well, I think
our discussion was around the connection there. Sorry, Ron.
No, yeah. I think there's a kind of a deeper question that I think you're getting at, Todd, if I'm understanding you, like, because one of the things I think problems we have in discussing innovation is often people think of it as a product, right? Like as a AI, even, for example, right? Like
a thing,
right?
Tool that people use. But I think if I'm understanding where you're going, I think it's bigger than that. It's like who's gonna push our thinking further? Like who's gonna like blow our fucking minds
Right.
and yes, that's where we need to be headed.
Right.
Um, and I don't I that's I mean to me that's a valid question. Like who's gonna like give us the next, 30 years of discussion and LinkedIn arguments?
But it's kind of true, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it comes back around to the question that you posited really early. So what's this look like?
Yeah.
What's improvement look like? Well, it's brave organizations improving work, right? I mean, we probably all can get around that because that's just the conversation we had, using bold new approaches to new, I kind of almost want to say bold new aggressive approaches towards understanding, complex systems
Yeah.
operating in a highly variable environment, which kind of is the definition of pediatric nursing.
Yeah.
And the best thing about working with these pediatric ICU nurses is that they're not encumbered with rule following. Everything is an adaptation because ultimately this kid's not going to die on my watch, right? I mean, that's kind of what they say. And so they'll just do anything. And it's fun to watch them
Yeah.
and it's fun to see their success.
Yeah.
Now,
And
if a
very cool
company's,
to talk to those folks, especially when they sit back and reflect on.
yeah,
And I'm going to give a shout out to Dr. Gina Whitney while we're on here.
she
Pediatric
invented the steam engine, right?
Probably, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
among
Gina,
other things.
Gin.
No one
yeah,
really
that's
knows.
it.
Yeah. and has a name tag, I think, or should, that just says "bad motherfucker" on it. It's like
Yeah.
the wallet from Pulp Fiction. But like those are the kind of folks, again, when you talk about, and for me, I just think of these individual conversations that are super inspiring about what people are doing, and not afraid to just get out and mess with it a little bit and run that idea of innovation as a product, not a process. And the way that people look at that, productizing it, made a lot of sense to me.
And I think
You
that's
get the
cool because
directors of innovation, right?
that's applying the current thinking, the current modern thinking. But I guess what I would come back to is where's the new modern thinking coming from?
Yeah. I so I think number one, um, if again, just to kind of reemphasize that the way I conceptualize it, there was a book I read from like a special forces guy one time, and he asked this question in the book as he was like kind of wrestling with some of the bureaucracy he was dealing with while trying to deal with the mission. He said, "How would we organize if we didn't already know how to organize?" Right? And like I that question really stuck with me because it gets
We just wouldn't.
well, it gets to the idea like what bullshit are we going to leave behind? I mean, which, Todd, I know you've talked about this a lot, like which is a question we asked a lot during the pandemic. Like, okay, like we need to rethink fucking everything. And I think to Ben's point, there's a lot of pushback. To me, like the people who are going to push us further are the people who are asking those questions now. Dave Woods actually highlighted something to me and some of the Ohio State folks in a message recently that speech in Davos by the Canadian Prime Minister,
Yeah, that was crazy good.
super
Yeah.
interesting because he pointed out like, and I think this is something I think we need to hear is like, hey, there's always this push to like, man, this world's crazy, we need to get back to normal, and he's like, what the fuck is normal?
Yeah.
Like there is no
Yeah.
normal. We need to rethink where we are now and create new systems for this reality we're in right now. And I think that's a message we need to hear right now. Like what with a deep understanding of the first principles, which is another thing I know you push on a lot, Todd. Like you got to start with an understanding of okay, what is a complex system? What does that mean?
Right.
But then looking at the world around us and the realities, and to Dave's point about like, with the bullshit kind of bureaucracy we got to put up with and all that, what are we going to do to push forward? What are we going to do to think differently about this problem in a way that's productive? Because, I mean, like at the end of the day, there's going to be shit that we're going to look back on in 20 years and be like, I can't believe we thought that was the way it was supposed to be done.
Well, and you probably do that already, don't you?
Yeah.
Like certainly in my career, I think
Yeah, for
about
sure.
the way we used to talk about these new safety ideas 20 years ago and how how far we are from that now. How we've, like, I remember a period of time with meetings with like Woods in the room. Like I remember a Forest Service meeting in DC where they were consciously talking about managing error with Woods in the room. We wouldn't have that conversation now at all. I mean, that's antiquated and goofy, but 20 years ago it was a big part of that conversation. To me, I think, and Woods is right, that speech in Davos when the Canadian Prime Minister said nostalgia is not a strategy.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really powerful moment, and certainly a powerful moment in safety.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at how we've held on desperately to all the things we believe have gotten us to where we are, and probably to a great extent, many of those things simply aren't doing what we thought they would do. I found that guy's name, Rory, Rory. Rory, how do you say that? Rory?
Rory.
Rory.
That feels
Rory.
wrong. Rory,
Yeah, but it's
Rory,
right.
Rory Sutherland.
It's an
Yeah.
Irish.
It sounds Irish.
It always feels wrong, but it's right.
Who has written some cool books.
Have you heard much of him?
I haven't.
He's remarkable. He's more of a behavioral economics guy.
Yeah.
But he's an Ogilvy and whatever ad guy. I mean, he's like he did all the big ad campaigns. But he's very interesting in how he's challenging the world.
Yeah.
So and he's a non-academic, so that's interesting at a bunch of levels. And I think that desperate need for seeking innovation is something that I think you guys in the punk rock safety podcast should take on.
But so the idea of blank page is something I was thinking about when you were saying that, Ron, which is like, if we didn't have anything in an organization for safety, where would you start? Would you write a policy statement and put it in a frame and put it in the reception area? And would you where would you start? And I think that's a necessary and interesting thought experiment, because I think when I talk to organizations, I'd say, what safety processes do you think your people who execute them, which ones do you think they'd do if they didn't have to? So if you had no requirement for people to do anything, what would hang around? Would it be the take fives? Would it be the leadership visits? And the more you talk to organizations, the more they get concerned about, I'm not sure anyone would do anything that we're currently doing for safety if they didn't have to. And so I guess the damage point, like, you can't inspect quality into a system, you can't comply your way to safety. So if all the things that we do in our organization for safety are things that people, do because they have to do, not because they understand or want to do them, then it's I guess the outcome is a whole bunch of stuff happening with no outcome, or no impact.
Yeah. But don't you feel that that's partially because I think that point's really brilliant, and I guess I would add to that seems to be an artifact of the old view that the worker's clearly the problem. So that bias towards workers being the target for all programs to make work better, classic sort of Taylorism or reverse Taylorism or whatever you call it. There's your next tattoo, Taylor. Just get Taylor right in the tramp stamp spot. Taylorism.
Follow the rules.
It works at a Taylor Swift concert, or
it does work at many levels.
I think everyone, I think to management as well. Like, if you told management, okay, you don't have to organize these safety stand downs anymore, you don't have to do these leadership safety visits, you don't have to.
You don't even need safety
off for 2 weeks.
Ron said
audits happen. You don't have to do these certifications. You don't have to pre-qualify any contractors or anything like that. I think managers would be. But again, it's just putting the blame on a different group in the organization. But I think the reflection for me is that, like, I mow my lawns at home and I drive my kids to the supermarket and things like that. I have any processes to run the safety of my family. I don't do light vehicle inspections. I don't do a job safety analysis, and I'm still alive. So the question is, like, I make people.
I mean,
do
I threw a hammer at a can of triple expanding foam, Dave. Look.
I think this is this is a challenge for the safety profession. Like, why do we make people do things that we don't believe in enough to do ourselves in our normal life? and then
I think it's a really good question.
then you
And I'm kind of stuck. I'm kind of trapped on the fact that you use the word lawns in plural.
Yeah,
These tier
there's some
two
tier
guys
two
have more
shit.
than one lawn.
Tier two guys are.
there's a front and a back at least, and a side.
See in where we're from, that's all lawn.
Yeah,
Lawns implies that you've got the carriage
yeah,
house.
it's like math.
Yeah.
And
Todd. There's more than one math
Sheep.
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
sheep. Sheep is a different thing.
Sheep.
Yeah, I mean, it, it's amazing how dangerous loading sheep into the truck looks. That's all I'll say.
We'll get a Kiwi on next and see.
Well, and to me, I think a lot of what we're talking about here, and not the lawns part, but
Lawn.
but but
Important as it is.
it just comes back to, I think, like one of the things I think we need as an industry is is just that constant questioning everything and pushing, right? Like, and looking beyond our borders, like you were talking about with that Rory guy. I think of
That guy, he's a tier one.
I
Rory
think Todd's
Sutherland.
challenge though, Ron, is it's like who's going to make it not incremental? Like,
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's the new name, Dave. Don't say that.
What?
Incremental safety is the new name.
that's
It's-
Eric's name.
That is
That's
Eric's
Eric.
thing.
Oh,
Um,
sorry, but
no,
but the idea
Getting demoted now.
there needs to be that. Like, I think it's just not who's going to come up with the next practice, like a work insights or a learning teams, or who's going to tear the walls down. And
yeah, but I think that's, to me, though, like understanding complex systems, the way to get to tearing the walls down is often through incremental shit. Like, and it's not like a additive process. What I'm talking about is like, I think of like
a butterfly that flaps their wings and creates a tidal wave.
yeah, basically, right? Like it's or like what Edgar Schein talks about with adaptive moves, right?
Right.
It's you don't know for sure how you're going to get to where you want to go. You just have an idea. I want to move in this direction. So you take a step and then okay, what did that do? Where are we at? And then that informs your next decision. And eventually, like you get to like an understanding or a place of like, okay, yeah, this is what we need to do. But it often starts with these small little things, and and I think the reason why this is important for me is like there's so many people I talk to who are waiting for someone else to come along and tell them how to innovate, and I think they have so much more power to just start right now. Like, what is the problem you're dealing with, and how can you just break down the way you're thinking about it in a different way? That's innovation to me. And if we get that, and then we find ways to capture it and show it and talk, share it within the community, I think that's how we're gonna like eventually it's gonna emerge from that sort of chaos. Is sort of my hope.
No, agreed completely.
Yeah.
And I guess what I would ask, and this is totally, this is 100% legitimate question. I'm not leading. I have no answer. Who should we be watching?
I would watch.
Who's out there shaking the trees? I'm just really curious to see who that is.
I mean, I will say one person does come to mind who always, when I talk to him about things like this, always inspires me is Daniel Humberdahl. I think
They're going to say Elon Musk.
someone who's always like pushing, boundaries, and he's just doing it. He's just pushing forward because that's just what he enjoys doing, and he's often very quiet in doing it. But there's also a lot of people who are in this space and applying complex systems thinking to other non-safety areas. I think those are the kind of people we need to be paying attention to. There's a group called I think Corporate Rebels or something like that. They're doing some interesting stuff, like people like that who are pushing boundaries in other areas and breaking down old ways of organizing are super interesting to me and often inspire me like, oh, that's something I can try in my work. You know what I mean? So I would push people to look at those things. Would be my
Yeah, I think if you're looking for stuff that's completely outside of where we are, the safety world is, I think Dave Gray, who started the visual thinking company back in the day, has a thing called the School of the Possible that is a pretty wild place for just kicking walls down, as Dave said. I think some folks that I get to work with, X-Plane, just XPLANE, not the flight simulator. I mean, these people they're doing badass stuff that is not like anything else that you see. Um, but it's quietly radical, you know. They're just it's like the chats, playing small gigs and just fucking off, and then all of a sudden we all get to hang out and see it, and it's rad. And so I look at folks like that. I think the D school out at Stanford, another cool place for me of just sort of thinking about how we get less afraid that any movement I make is going to get me in front of the board because somebody stubbed their toe, and opening up the idea that I can do small experiments in the organization and and fuck up safely or lower consequence or whatever it is. And I think, I don't know, I meet a lot of safety people that are like 0 to 100. It's like we're doing everything all at once all the time or nothing. And there's so much space in between to mess around a little bit. And I think, check out School of the Possible, for our 9 listeners. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a possibilitarian, I think, is what they call themselves.
Who do we listen to, Dave? Give us the answer.
Yeah, give us the answer.
I don't have a great answer, but it just got me thinking about when I sort of talk about the progression of safety ideas. I'm really inspired by the early HRO work in the 80s, like Roach, Rockland, Laporte, and that, and said, let's go and find safe organization. Let's try to understand why they are safer than we might think they could be. And I just sort of think about innovation in a little bit the same way. Like something like Uber, it's not a company that makes an app and democratizes shared transport is going to tear down the taxi kind of industry, and Airbnb tearing down the hotel industry. And I just think there's a way of like, what does democratizing kind of safety and work look like in an organization, and how do you enable that? And then also, like, we spend a lot of time worried about case studies of disaster, like Boeing and things like that. But when I got to hang out with,
don't they make doors?
Yeah, something like that. Doors in the air. But I mean, like looking at someone like, say, NASA, for example, like, we all know the NASA stories during the shuttle program, but when I got to hang out a little bit with those folk, I was blown away. It's the best kind of like environment for managing safety that I've seen. So where are we in there watching, like, how are those guys thinking about and managing the Artemis program, right? And so I just think there's a whole opportunity to get back into some organizations in industries that seem to be being successful and doing things a bit differently with their core work, and then kind of what can we learn about that for importing things into how we think about safety. But I'm a bit of a sort of a concrete kind of guy.
As most tier 2s are.
Concrete. Practical, pragmatic.
Yeah.
Pragmatic.
Applied.
Who are you paying attention to, Todd? Like, who do you think is?
So I'm
Rory
Sutherland. I'm super interested. Actually, kind of what David just said. I'm super interested in how the time now seems better for HRO than when Todd and Kathleen and Carl rolled HRO out. I mean, they were way ahead of their time.
Yeah, they were.
And now it just makes so much more sense. So I'm really interested in that. And I'm very interested in organizations that are very good at managing high risk, high consequence systems because they think they're not good at it. And so the best systems that I've ever worked with in my career would tell you that they're not good enough, and they're constantly questing whatever improvement looks like. I remember
chronic unease to come back.
At Los Alamos, we had a sign in our conference room that said default towards improvement. So,
Yeah.
right. So if you're ever in a position where you had to make a decision, your default was always towards what makes it better, what makes the system better. Those are really interesting ideas. And that's what you look for. And organizations now, and a lot of this I think is probably in retrospect quite predictable, but there's this post-pandemic shock that we're all kind of dealing with now that's running through organizations. And they're seeing it on the financial side. They're definitely seeing it on the global logistics side, the trade tariff side. I mean, all the stuff that's going on now is probably predictably in retrospect, because we're way smarter in retrospect, predictably probably was kind of knowable. I mean, this was going to happen. And so you're seeing lots of change. The interesting thing to me, and David, I'd be curious what you think about that, is the idea of move fast and break stuff. This disruptor idea that's clearly been proven in the current business environment as not a very good strategy. And in fact, it's fail early, fail small, which Ben just said. That seems to be much more interesting and much more manageable and much more reflective of the complexities that people operate in globally. So,
And probably less susceptible to just like holding desperately onto bias, like failing fast does. Which, I think a lot of the shit that happens with AI, right, is let's just fucking move fast and break things.
yeah.
And now it's hard to unring some bells.
Yeah.
And I think that's
And that's where they
a lot of-
are.
Yeah.
But it's interesting when you look at Airbnb or Uber, these companies that were really on the pre-pandemic disruptor side, they're kind of struggling now in sort of finding
Right. Yeah.
system stability. I mean, it's, like Roomba went out of business.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have guessed? I mean, I wouldn't have guessed
Ron's
that.
cat is looking at that going like, what do I ride on?
I know. I mean, so it's clearly a time to look at and understand what's going on.
Mm.
And then I think we're a little hamstrung. This is my kind of personal bias, but I think we're a little hamstrung because to a great extent, our lead thinkers, our tier ones, are in this desperate need to prove legitimacy. And that's really hurting us on the applied side, on the practical side of the house. I mean, it's just it's a really interesting game that's being played.
Do you feel like, not to get us too far off here, I don't know
How
if we're
much farther off could we be? Good
I know,
God.
I guess
we're running the
but
first
this
one.
idea of legitimacy,
You
right?
want me to hit record?
Yeah.
Well, you've got these people, right, that Todd, you mentioned early on, right, that want, we got to have a seat at the table next to, physics or mathematics or whatever, which I think is a really strange aspiration. But then when folks get frustrated about that argument, now it's, oh, well, in an applied sense, it's still not legitimate. And there's so much, I think there's a lot of time wasted in this argument for legitimacy. There's certainly a lot of time on LinkedIn wasted.
But it's only an argument in the academy.
Yeah.
I mean, the pushback I would give,
I don't know.
or the pushback I'd give you is that when you go to a company that's had a fatality, and all of us on this call have done that.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of need for academic legitimacy, right? And part of it is a really desperate attempt. Desperate sounds mean. It's a very urgent. Thank you. That's a better word. It's an urgent attempt to understand the changing roles that universities have had, and really the changing role in the sort of the public's view of intelligence. So there was a time where the public saw degreed professionals as experts, and somehow post-pandemic that's dramatically changed. And you guys must see it because you live in the world.
I was literally told by someone I was having a disagreement with about something.
It was us.
No. This was I can't say much more because then it'll give it away. But don't
Tier
tell
one. It's a tier
don't
one.
don't tell people you have a PhD because
Yeah.
Oh,
they
100, yeah, 100% have heard that. Well,
yeah.
mostly because people meet me and go, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
It's just,
But I agree. Like
Particularly
it's
in
yeah.
a
maths.
liability to know
Yeah.
more.
Well, it is, and I think that's probably post pandemic. I mean, I hate to keep hanging everything on this, but the bottom line is we had this giant global intervention that happened simultaneously around the world
Yeah.
that impacted how people did work.
Yeah.
No, better yet, let's go with David Proven. It impacted how companies believe work was being done.
Mm,
I mean, dramatically.
Yeah.
Like Edgar Schein would, be saying, "Watch this one. This is a big one."
yeah.
And
And there's
to an
only a couple of
extent,
those a century. Like you have
yeah,
the Great Depression in the 20s, you have World War II and post war, and then like a
yeah.
pandemic. It's like 2 or 3 times a century you have these dramatic shifts in society and work.
Yeah. Then add to that, for bad or for good, the impact that AI is having, which I personally don't fully understand. What worries me is that it has the potential to become a really aggressive surveillance process. And I'm not sure we need more ways to surveil workers, right?
Yeah, no.
And I'm sure we don't need more ways to surveil people in airports. Good God, right?
It's only because you're on a watch list that you say that, Todd.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
But I mean, these are just I'm just kind of talking,
Yeah.
but
No,
it's been a really interesting couple of years, at least for me,
yeah.
because you know, all of a sudden these great ideas that would blow our minds, right? I'm either I'm not attuned to them, which totally could be the case, or they're just not coming out as
No,
often as they once were.
I haven't heard anything in a while.
That's just the upshot, right? Like the risk of putting all the work and cognitive energy and physical energy into doing some of these things, like you said, is sometimes so low because expertise just gets discounted, or
And
innovation or ideas get discounted.
and part of it is our bias for how organizations should function is no longer as accurate as it once was. So uh, Jenny and I did this book earlier, I guess last year, where we interviewed like 600 new workers in, I don't know, 14 organizations. I don't remember how 20 organizations. And I was blown away by how wrong my impression of what organizations are was to the people I was talking to. I don't know another way to say it. Is that,
So what is that? But what does that look like?
well, they would say things like, so of all the people I talked to for this book, and I talked to a whole bunch of people, not one person wanted to go into leadership in their organization. Not one.
Whoa.
And so I would ask them all the same question, how come?
So
And they
corporate
said,
owner.
yeah, because it's a lot more work and not a lot more benefit. I didn't talk to I probably only talked to 10 people out of the group I talked to that expected to be in the company more than 2 years.
Wow.
So that's a real identity thing. Like identity is not shaped by work as much as we think it's shaped by work.
Or it was for us. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? David, like what like I would be like, well, but that's not how I think of it. And then I realized, oh, that's my problem.
Yeah.
It's
That
yeah.
that I have this really, yeah, I mean, I had people tell me I work until I get as much money as I need, then I'm going to quit work and I'm going to do what I want to do until I need money again, and then I'll come back. A
Yeah.
large company that all of you know, I was talking to their director of talent, global talent,
Excellent.
and that
You're
person
not on
said,
that list, Ron. Don't worry.
yeah, and nor was I. That person said
Or
to
was
me
any
something
others.
that this blew my mind. She said, we make on ramping as fast and as easy as we can. but we make off-ramping
Hard.
attractive, quick, and painless because everybody's coming back.
Hmm.
I'd be curious what you guys think about that because this is a big, I mean, you know this company, you know them well, and
Walmart.
they fully believe that their employees.
Is it ForgeWorks?
Is it McDonald's?
Yeah, it's
Is
ForgeWorks.
it McDonald's?
Sort of a big.
They
a big
fully
place.
believe their employees will leave and come back many times, and they welcome it.
Oh, that's wild.
That's completely different than when I had a job.
Oh yeah.
My impression was,
yeah.
you know, oh God, when you quit, they're going to treat you like crap and make it hard. And when
And
the
it
door
looks shitty
slams
on your
and when
resume,
the door
right?
slams, they don't want you back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
It's slamming forever.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
to me, this all just speaks back to if we're going to innovate, you got to start from like, okay, where are we?
Right.
What's really going on right now? And what do we need to be able to move forward? Right.
Well, and if I can interrupt, Ron,
Yeah.
you know what my software people, when I ran that big software thing at Los Alamos, you know what they would add to that? Those questions are perfect. The other question they would add is, what problem are we trying to solve?
Yeah. And I think I mean,
Yeah.
connecting to context is, I guess, what's going through my mind now. Like I was talking to a company, a very large company, about their safety strategy. And I said, just tell me a little bit about things that are going on in the business right now. And I think their biggest challenge was this is a fly in, fly out workforce. And they're saying we're having about a 40% a year turnover, which is like pretty much 1 out of 2 people have been here less than a year, right? And they're doing really high risk, dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at their strategy. So for me, I think if I can only do one thing in that company, what does onboarding and supervision look like, right? If I'm bringing inexperienced people into a high risk environment, how do I onboard? How do I supervise? Right? Because you kind of got to figure out if I've got capability gaps in the workforce, I've got to scale up supervision and support and onboarding. And they go, oh, no, well, no, we don't have that in our strategy. Our strategy is, like systems-y stuff and other things. It's like, you don't understand the organization that you're actually trying to manage right now.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
I think you're right. And I think the reason they don't understand is because their bias is the old workforce. Like they're still freaked out that they have a 40% turnover.
Yeah.
Whereas this global talent lady who is really good and probably makes way more money than we do, she's like, this isn't
like tier 1.
Yeah, she's clearly tier 1.
I think there's a bell curve, tier 1, and then there's like a group that make all the money.
And they're not tier 1. But she said, this isn't a problem. This is reality.
Yeah.
This is what we have. I mean, and it's not changing. So we've had to adapt our systems. We've had to adapt our processes. And I think to a great extent, they've had to adapt the way they bias their thinking to this kind of new world. It's very interesting. And our construction friends have been telling us this for a long time. This is not new knowledge. I mean, they've been saying this is a big problem. Turnover's high and we lack experience. Nobody wants to be a supervisor. Nobody wants to be a foreman.
Yeah.
And who can blame
we do frame it as a problem, and I think that's the interesting part, right? It's different when you think about it. I think in Patty McCord's book, was it called Powerful? Maybe, but she was talking about that onboarding, offboarding, right? Is like to them, it was a badge of honor that other people would compete to hire their employees, and they would celebrate when folks left, because if you left that organization, you were viewed as such a badass that there was a line out the door of people who were coming in for the opportunity to be there.
Right.
And they knew those folks wouldn't be there forever. And, maybe that's different in that industry. But Todd, one of the things that you said that made a lot of sense to me is not just that these folks in a company we've all heard of have adapted, right, to just not a problem, but reality, but they're learning how to adapt. It's not that they've adapted and now that's reality and they're staying there. It's that they've understood that in 3 or 4 more years, that work might look different again. And they're building those muscles of how do we think about retention and onboarding and hiring in the way that we help people progress, that maybe is going to look different next decade.
And that changes. So I think all of that is true. And then that changes what we do, right? Because then adaptively, we have to sort of create new venues to help people understand, control or
I think
whatever it is.
Yeah. Dave, you've talked about before, like, something that safety folks could do is, tell me where all the new supervisors are in the organization, or help me understand where the new foremen are. Because that's the people I want to get my arms around, right? You've talked about that before as a really important point in that organization's life. And I think that's, is thinking differently about what a safety person has to offer. I mean, they don't have anything to offer according to Ron, but if they did, let's just assume there was something.
I think
Maybe
there's
that.
I think Edgar Schein sort of said.
Sorry, Ron.
Edgar Schein said that when he was talking about humble inquiry, like, one of the hardest things for us as adults is not learning, it's unlearning. Like, and I think to listen to what you were saying, Todd, is, and the blank page idea in safety is, we've got to let go of being normative around safety, right? And just accept that the only useful thing to do is be descriptive, right? So it doesn't matter what we think things should be. The only thing that matters is what they are and how we're responding to that. And right. So I think this idea of, how do we, if we can let go of all of our normative views about what organizations should be, what leaders should be, what workers should be, what safety should be, and instead open our mind up to having a better understanding of what it is, then I think that might be a little bit more conducive to some innovation.
But I think that's the potential for innovation. Yeah. Is going right back to Shine. How do you get organizations to unlearn their ability to be an organization? And what's happening is that, at least in my view, and it's pretty limited because as I get older, I care less, but is we're really in a position where the senior leaders and C-suite are in one worldview, and their workers, new workers, and workers that are working with them, however those divisions would be made, are in another view, and they're in, as David Woods would say, really interesting potential goal conflict. So,
yeah. And they're not talking to each other about it. They're just seeing it show up as turnover, or going online and posting videos, and do people use TikTok? I don't know. See, I'm disconnected from any of this shit.
I think it's called the TikTok.
The TikTok.
Are you on the TikTok?
The face pages.
I was talking to a mining company. Don't know who they are, but I don't know. There was some viral dance going on TikTok, and a bunch of their underground miners all took all their PPE off underground to their underwear and did this kind of dance and put it on TikTok, and got kind of like 1 million views. And then the company turned around, fired them. Right? I'm going, but fuck, like, know your audience, right? Like, these people could have been like,
read the room.
Moment in time for the leaders to go, look, maybe not the right thing to do, but yeah, look, let's all have a bit of a laugh about it and get on with our life, right? Don't sack the people and then go all around your organization globally and say, this or something. It's just, I don't know.
That's so funny.
Yeah. And we were talking to another organization the other day that had some feedback that in an employee engagement survey, over 60% of people didn't trust leadership to make good decisions for the business. Like, you get a situation where 2/3 of the workforce don't have any trust or faith in leaders' ability to lead the company. Like, yeah. It's like, cool, run away from your parents type thing. Like,
I was just talking with the company who's probably the same company, David, who came to me with that data. They'd done this big survey, a good place to work survey, they called it.
Yeah.
60% lack of trust in leadership. And then the senior leader, the CEO, on the call said to me, "That's not a problem I can fix." And I had to say, well, wait a minute.
Actually,
entirely, it's pretty much all your problem.
It is sort of yours.
What if it was? What if it was? Where would you start?
Yeah.
What would it take?
But that separation is really interesting to me, because this really is kind of, not to keep dumping on Taylor, but it is kind of Taylor amplified, but it's amplified. And I think the pandemic has a lot to do with this. I think there is a workforce, a really good friend of probably all of ours. I probably shouldn't even say the industry they're in, but they told me that 50% of their new recruits don't show for the first day of training. And 50% of the people who do show don't make it through the first week of training.
Whoa.
Right. And he had the data. I mean, he had this was a problem they were dealing with.
Yeah. That's
And
time to go into recruitment, boys.
Well, see, I don't even think that's unusual.
No.
I think no shows for jobs really common for people to not show now. Super common.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
this same book that we wrote, most of the people I talked to said they would never in their life own a house.
I get that.
By choice or just the reality of
The reality.
Yeah.
So,
because we were talking about salary management, that kind of stuff. So,
wow.
Geez.
So we didn't solve it.
World.
Thanks, Todd. Normally
we've solved nothing.
Normally we solve things in an hour, and oh well, we're 48 from 49 in terms of solving issues.
Yeah, we just made it worse on this one.
yeah.
I think the big takeaway from all this, though, is that like the way to create space for innovation is to start with learning, right? To start with understanding, dig into what is, stop focusing on what should happen. I think like remove the word should from your vocabulary for a little while and focus in on, okay, what is going on? And then, and to the question you asked, okay, now that I know that, what is the problem we're actually trying to solve? And then just go from there and start doing small little experiments and see what comes out of it.
And for whom am I trying to solve a problem? I think the other one that gets missed, right, a lot is what's the problem is part of it. For whom is different, right? Because if it's for me as the safety person,
and all I change that is just don't even worry about what's the problem, like what's the opportunity, like just instead should or problem.
Look at this guy.
I would really push you on that, and the reason I'd push you on that is those DevOps guys, the software designers. It really impacted me when they would go to meetings and they spent the vast majority of their time, ask these DevOps guys, determining what the problem was. That the challenge that we have is that we spend very little time on problem definition and lots of time on corrective action.
Can I get an amen?
Diffusion. And those software guys, it totally freaked me out, David. I mean, I was just like, wow, this is not how I would look for opportunities as well. I would also look for places where things are going well. There's lots of ways to, as a sociologist, to look at this. But they were like, if you don't have a good problem definition, then everything you're doing is in the wrong place.
Was it Einstein? He said,
if you need a tool for that, mock-ups cards, Liz Gerber up at Northwestern, an American badass. It's just a card game about problem framing. I buy them by the dozen and try to hand them out to folks, but it's an incredible tool that's silly. But man, Todd, I'm with you. We're not solving for the full sentence of a problem. We just picked something that bothers us and forgotten, who it matters to, the constraints that they're facing to try to get there. The fact that a problem might look 8 different ways to 8 different people.
Yep.
Or more. So mock-ups.
So this is what you guys do. This is
that's all we do.
This is it, man.
I thought there'd be more
zero prep, zero effort.
I thought you guys would be smoking crack and stuff. I mean, it's interesting that you're all naked.
I really could.
The nudity part, once I got used to it, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. After a while, you don't notice it.
No, huh?
Yeah, we don't go on YouTube a lot anymore on account of the nude part, but
the
inflatable raft hides most of it for Dave.
But you will put this on your OnlyFans though?
Feet Finder. Yeah, Feet Finder is sort of the thing.
Feet Finder. Oh God, I vomited a little in my mouth.
Well, AI that little follow the rules tramp stamp on your Todd before we put it up on YouTube.
You know, I'm sure you will. God.
Entry by
So it is so awful. I don't know. Anything else good going on? What else?
Good. Yeah, I think we nailed it.
Everybody happy and busy?
Busy enough. Hopefully, I get let into the
Busy.
States. I've got to disclose about 3 decades of email addresses and social media profiles and that to get through your borders. So hopefully that all works out. Otherwise,
Yeah, I'm not
like the guy in the like Tom Hanks in the terminal.
Yeah, I'm not I'm sorry about that. It's yeah, I don't know what to say. I'm doing this meeting with Redonda.
Yeah.
I
Awesome.
heard on your pod, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, you guys saw it?
I heard on your pod. I think.
Oh yeah, I think I talked about it a little.
Yeah.
Do you guys know why?
Why you're doing
Why
it?
you're doing it?
Why?
They couldn't get her in Canada. Couldn't
Yeah.
get her into Canada.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah, you can't get to Canada if you've been arrested.
Oh, that sucks.
Fuck me. I guess Monday's going to go badly.
That sucks. That's crazy.
Whoa! Wow! There you go. Wild.
Mm.
Cool.
All
All
right.
right.
It's
Hi guys.
it's a new world.
It's wild.
Oh, man.
Let's
Well,
go.
I mean, the good news is we've solved a big part of it. Almost certainly. Todd, thanks. Man.
Yeah, that's what happened.
I don't know. We have a bassist, a drummer, a pretty good guitarist. So are you playing triangle for us? What's the instrument?
Me?
Lead vocals.
Yeah.
Are?
Lead
Front man.
vocals.
Front man. Todd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I look good in spandex.
Yeah, you do.
So yeah, that's a good look on me. Spandex with a long hair wig. I'll do that for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Check out the YouTube. It's there.
Cool. So
All
I'll
right,
clip
boys.
I'll highlight and clip some of this and put it on my podcast to promote you guys. That maybe you'll get some crossover.
Ooh. Yeah. You can. I don't think 9 listeners is really going to shift the dial for you, Todd. But I'm happy to help if we can.
Oh no, I'll take anything I can get, baby. So
Yeah.
all righty.
Hi guys.
This was fun, man. Thank
All
you.
right,
Thanks.
boys. Did we
done?
do it?
I think
Yeah, we did.
well is what's left to
Did
do.
we? Yeah, did we?
Bye.